You may not believe it, but the master of Dan's number one sword immortal was a body-tempering waste. Everyone mocked him, until one day he split open the Rift Gorge with a single sword strike, and incidentally trained three supreme experts: the Sword Immortal, the Medicine Emperor, and the Blade Venerable. The year the Demon Emperor descended, no one in the world could stop him. He rode in on horseback, sword pointing straight at the Demon Emperor, and shouted, "Disciples, fear not, your master is here. My name is Shun Anze. You may not believe it, but I transmigrated. Even more absurdly, I transmigrated into the position of Peak Master of Qingyun Peak on Lingfu Mountain. Sound impressive, right? Forget it, I'm the only one left on Qingyun Peak, a lone commander with no troops. Cultivation at the late body-tempering stage, blocked meridians, over 40 years old, can't even beat a decent spirit beast. That so-called disciple of mine, Murong Tian, has talent not much better than mine. After 2 years on the mountain, he's only at the mid-body tempering stage, and today he's about to leave too. Master, your unfilial disciple is going down the mountain today to inherit the family business. I hope you take care, Master." The young man's voice outside the door carried a hint of despondency. I collapsed into the chair, not even having the strength to go out and take a look. Heavens, did you make me transmigrate just to suffer? Others transmigrate and become emperors who split mountains. Me, I can barely manage to pull weeds or hit birds. Stuck on this broken mountain as a worthless peak master, I have to endure sneers. Even if I don't get kingly aura, at least give me 8 or 10 fair-skinned, beautiful wives, so I can live a happy life. I hate this so much. Strike me dead with lightning. I dare you. Boom, a thunderclap from a clear sky. I dove under the table with a jolt, my heart nearly leaping out. Damn it. When I ask for wives, you ignore me. But when I say strike me with lightning, you're quick on the draw. Isn't this bullying the honest man? Bang, bang, bang. 3 knocks on the door with the forehead. Master, your disciple is leaving. Take care of yourself. The footsteps faded away, growing softer. I sighed. Now even the person who serves tea and water is gone. Just as I was thinking about how to grow old and die alone on this broken mountain, a voice suddenly exploded in my mind. Detected that host is about to sever the master-disciple bond with apprentice, activating good disciple nurturing system. I froze, then burst into ecstasy. It's here. The cheat code has arrived. I knew it. How could a transmigrator not have an external advantage? The spring of my life, Shun Anze, has finally. No can do. This system cannot help the host improve cultivation. The smile froze on my face. Then what use are you? This system can assist the host in training disciples. By completing tasks, you can increase the disciple's admiration and earn item rewards. Fine. A car master's life is still a life. Even if I can't improve my cultivation, if I stockpile a whole pocket full of skill cards, I can still strut around like I own the place. Mission issued. Retain Murong Tian. Success rewards. Skill card pack, skill inheritance card, and a lottery chance. Failure. Force host to cultivate the evil banishing sword art. The evil banishing sword art. A cold draft whooshed right into my crotch. I jolted up with a start and burst through the door. My little radish, is a man's dignity lose that? And am I even a man? Disciple. Good disciple, please stay. On the mountain path, Murong Tian, carrying large and small bags, turned back. Seeing me chasing after him disheveled while holding up my robe, he looked at me oddly. Master, what are you? I took a deep breath and squeezed out the most heartbroken expression of my life. Are you really going to abandon your master and descend the mountain alone? If you leave, what will I do? Do you have the heart to let your master grow old alone in these mountains? Mu Rongtian was silent for a moment, then said firmly, Master, rest assured. Once I descend the mountain, I'll send 10 maids up to serve you. You won't be lonely at all. I blurted out without thinking, are the maids pretty? Naturally, they'll be as beautiful as flowers. Fair-skinned? Ahem, I quickly coughed twice to interrupt, putting on the deep and mysterious look of a reclusive master. I don't want any maids. I just want you to stay on the mountain. Mu Rongtian stepped back and covered his bottom, his eyes wary. Master, although I'm grateful for your kindness in raising and teaching me, my mind is made up. Seeing he was determined to leave, I changed tactics. Can't you stay just for your master? He lowered his head and was silent. After a long while, he spoke, his voice hoarse. Master, 2 years ago, my fiancée came to break off the engagement. I was so angry that I made a 3-year promise with her. Now, 2 years have passed, and I haven't even caught up to her cultivation level at that time. That 3-year promise is just a joke now. I was stunned. Marriage break off? A 3-year promise? This kid has such a story behind him. But why does this setup sound so familiar? Murong Tian clenched his fists, his eyes filled with utter despair. Disciple knows well that his talent is lacking and is no match for that heaven-blessed girl. Even if I go as promised a year from now, it would only be offering myself up for ridicule. What words? I straightened my back, clasped my hands behind me. The warm sun rose behind me, casting my shadow over him. My disciple is not inferior to anyone. Who cares about some heaven-blessed girl? My disciple Shun An's disciple is not someone to be bullied. Murong Tian looked up in a daze. The wind lifted the hem of my robe. It stirred the silver strands at my temples. I looked at him and said each word slowly. You must know that 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river, do not bully the young and poor. The boy's despair was shattered inch by these words. His breathing grew heavy, his fists clenched tighter. His blood surged and boiled as if ignited. Don't bully the young and poor, he murmured repeatedly, then dropped to his knees with a thud, kowtowing heavily. Master, disciple will not leave. Mission complete. Gain skill card pack X1, skill inheritance card X1, draw chance X1. I curl my lips into a smile. Here it comes. Here comes the power-up finally arrives. I open the gift pack. One-time use card. One sword opens the gate of heaven. Heavenly Spirit Realm tier, a single use can unleash a full-powered strike at the Heavenly Spirit Realm level. 5-time limit cards. Cloud Brushing Palm. Qi Realm tier after use. You can unleash Palm Force at the Qi Realm level for 5 minutes. The Heavenly Spirit Realm, the top tier within the middle 3 realms. Even though it can only be used once, keeping this thing is like having a trump card up your sleeve. Next up, the Lucky Draw. I rubbed my hands together eagerly as a virtual wheel appeared before me, the pointer spinning rapidly. It whizzed past glittering treasures like Dragon Ball, Phoenix Blood, and Immortal Slaying Sword before finally coming to a slow stop on a shabby green glow. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 3rd grade Alchemist experience. Bonus gift, 10 2nd grade body tempering pills and 1 3rd grade marrow washing pill recipe. Alright, an alchemist, it is at least it's practical. A flood of alchemy knowledge poured into my mind. I turned to Murong Tian, ready to strike while the iron was hot and rack up some adoration points. Disciple, I will now teach you a sword technique. If this sword technique is cultivated to perfection, it could split the heavens and rend the earth, sweeping across the 9 states and 10 realms. Murong Tian's eyes wavered with doubt, after all, in his eyes. I was nothing but a waste of a master at the late body tempering stage. Without explaining, I pointed at his brow, activating the inheritance card. Murong Tian's pupils contracted sharply. He saw a figure in white, similar in stature to me, standing in the vast sky. Raising a hand, he struck out with a sword. Sword aura spread across 3,000 li heaven and earth mourned together the sea of clouds churned. That single slash seemed to cleave even the sky in two. After the illusion faded, he knelt on the ground, trembling all over, his eyes reddened. Disciple thanks Master for the grace of teaching the sword. Murong Tian's admiration points plus 300. Current admiration level 3. Obtain special appearance preserving pill. Can reverse aging X3. I swallowed one on the spot. The medicinal power circulated the wrinkles at the corners of my eyes, visibly faded. Though I still looked middle-aged, I had lost some commonness and gained an air of immortal transcendence. Watching my transformation, Murong Tian became even more convinced that his master was a hidden master. I was just about to earn more admiration points. Suddenly, shouts of abuse rang out on the mountain path. Murong Tian, get your ass out here. You didn't even pick the demon dung, and now I'm getting chewed out by the steward. Are you asking for death? The man was Zhang Shan from the Miscellaneous Affairs Department. Relying on his cousin in the law enforcement hall, he dumped all his own work onto my disciple. I'd never bothered to interfere before, so he got used to treating Murong Tian as free labor. My face darkened. A disciple of Shun Anze is not someone a mere laborer can boss around. Zhongshan rushed up and started cursing me too. Shun Anze, you think you're something just because you're a peak master? Bang! The cloud-brushing palm activated. Spiritual energy condensed into a palm imprint and slammed solidly into his chest. Zhongshan screamed and flew backward, crashing heavily to the ground, his eyes wide with shock. Shkuapot Spiritual energy external release. You're not in the body tempering stage. Go back and tell your superiors. Murong Tian is my personal disciple. If anyone dares make him carry dung again, don't blame me for breaking their limbs. Zhongshan scrambled to his feet, his face pale and purple with rage, grinding his teeth. Elder Shun, your disciple came in last place at last year's competition. By sect rules, he should have been expelled long ago. I'm going to the enforcement hall to report this right now. Let's see how long you can protect him. He turned and ran, and I frowned. The head of the enforcement hall, Li Yin, is at the late stage of the Qingyun realm. The Palm of Floating Clouds time limited card can bully those in the body tempering realm, but going up against someone in the Qingyun realm is just suicide. One sword to open Heaven's Gate could kill him instantly, but it's a one-time use. Once it's gone, it's gone. Can't waste it on something like this. Can't win? Then I have to find someone to help. The peak masters of the 5 peaks on Lingshu Mountain are all at the earthly spirit realm. Any one of them would make Li Yin show some respect. The problem is I've offended all of them, especially Qingyun Peak's peak master, Lu Yinqin. The original host was clueless enough to woo her back then. He lingered around Qingyun Peak shamelessly for over 10 days, thoroughly pissing off Lu Yinqin. She dropped a harsh ultimatum. If anyone from Qingyun Peak dares set foot on Qingyun Peak again, she'll chop off their little carrot. I instinctively touched my crotch. That area, I still need to keep it intact. But not all hope is lost. There's the beauty pill. To women, it's more precious than any heavenly ranked martial technique. Lu Yinqin is 27 now. In 3 more years, she'll start showing signs of aging. No woman can resist the temptation of eternal youth. I found the most precious jade box carved with dragons and phoenixes that the original owner had, and put a beauty preservation pill inside. Wrapped it tightly in a rag and shoved it to Murong Tian. Disciple, take this to the Azure Phoenix Peak and give it to Elder Lu. Thud. Murong Tian fell straight to his knees. Master, why don't you just kill me now? 20 worship points. What are you afraid of? Just tell the disciple guarding the mountain that what's inside is something Elder Lu desperately wants, but can't have. There's only one of its kind in the whole world. It'll be too late to use it once you're past 30. Master, what exactly is in here? A pill that can keep a woman young forever. Murong Tian's mouth twitched, his face clearly saying, you could at least make up something believable. His family was in the pill-making business. He didn't believe such a miraculous pill existed at all, but he still took the box and left, his back looking as desolate as if he were heading to the execution ground. Remember to bring back a big bamboo tube. He didn't even turn his head. I shrugged. Helplessly, it's not that I'm setting my disciple up. If I went myself, I'd be kicked out before I could even say a word. There was no other choice. At the foot of Qingyun Peak, Murong Tian hugged the jade box wrapped in ragged cloth, watching the 2 female disciples guarding the mountain from afar, his legs trembling uncontrollably. The 2 female disciples also spotted him, exchanged a glance, their expressions unfriendly. That's Shun Anze's disciple from Qingyun Peak, isn't it? That Shun guy is up to his old tricks again, trying to cause trouble. Humph, the Peak Master said. If anyone from Qingyun Peak dares to come, we'll cut them in half. The other female disciple even mimed breaking a sugar cane with force at Murong Tian. Murong Tian flinched at the sight, but the arrow was already on the string. There's no turning back. He steeled himself and stepped forward, cupping his fists in salute. Murong Tian pays respects to senior sisters. My master has something to present to Elder Lu. Before he could finish, the female disciple drew her blade and slashed, with the strength of a late-stage body forging cultivator. The fierce edge of the knife aimed low. Cold sweat instantly broke out on Murong Tian's forehead. At the critical moment, the sword technique his master taught him suddenly surfaced in his mind. Sword aura swept across 3,000 miles. The sky itself was split open. He acted almost on instinct. His toes hooked a fallen twig from the ground and grasped it. He swept the sword upward where the ordinary withered branch actually let out a sword's hum, shaking out a dazzling flash of sword light. Clang, the female disciple with the blade, stumbled back 3 steps. Her hand, gripping the blade, trembled slightly. Utter disbelief filled her eyes. The other female disciple was also dumbfounded. Mid-stage of body forging, with a withered branch. Repelling late stage of body forging. What kind of bizarre sword technique is this? What kind of sword technique is this? The two said in unison. Tian held the jade box with one hand. Head held high. Chest out, one sword opening the heavenly gate. My master taught me. The peak lord of Qingyun Peak. Shen Anze. The two exchanged glances. Shen Anze? That useless peak lord? How could he have such terrifying swordsmanship? After a moment's hesitation, the older female disciple finally took the jade box. I'll make an exception and deliver it for you. As for any consequences, you bear them yourself. Tian let out a long breath, feeling his crotch wet, all from cold sweat. On Qingyun Peak, inside the jade pavilion, Lu Yinxin sat before the mirror, her jade-like fingers gently tracing a fine line at the corner of her eye. Deep annoyance hidden in her gaze. 27 years old, an Earth Spirit Realm powerhouse. The peak master of Qingyun Peak, one of the 5 peaks of Spirit Talisman Mountain, sounding glorious and boundless. But the reflection in the mirror couldn't lie. Her skin growing duller day by day. The fine lines at the corners of her eyes increasing day by day. She had spent all these years focused on cultivation, neglecting skincare, and by the time she noticed, it was too late. She asked every alchemist in the sect, and their answers were strikingly unanimous. Drink more hot water. It enraged her so much she nearly tore down the alchemy pavilion. Without entering nirvana, one is ultimately but mortal flesh. No one can resist the erosion of time. From outside the door came a disciple's respectful voice. Peak Master, Elder Shun of Qingyun Peak, has sent a disciple to deliver something. It is said to be what you currently desire but cannot obtain. The only one of its kind in the heavens and on earth. If used after 30, it will be too late. Lu Yinxin's willow leaf brows furrowed. Shenanze again, that persistent pest. I won't accept it. Send it back. Yes. The sound of footsteps gradually faded away. The jade chamber returned to silence. Lu Yinxin shook her head. Disgusted and helpless, that's Shun Anze. He really is a lingering ghost. Wait, what you desire but cannot obtain. She suddenly froze, and her jade-like hand unconsciously touched her brow again. The only one of its kind in the heavens and on earth. If used after 30, it will be too late. She shot to her feet, shouted loudly, "Come back. Bring the item in for me to see." The footsteps paused, then quickly turned around. When the carved dragon and phoenix jade box was handed to her, Lu Yinxin's heartbeat actually quickened a few beats. She slowly opened the lid. A milky white pill lay quietly inside, emitting a faint floral fragrance. Beside it lay a small note. 3 words were written on it. She softly read aloud, "Beauty Preservation Pill." This pill is perfectly round and flawless. Its faint floral fragrance was refreshing and soothing to the senses. A medicinal aroma that could even stir a late-stage Earth Spirit Realm expert like her. At the very least, it must be a 5th-grade pill to exude such a scent. Lu Yinxin reached out and picked up the Beauty Preservation Pill. Her beautiful eyes showed surprise. Such a precious pill. How did Shun En, a mere late-stage body-tempering cultivator, obtain it? Moreover, its name is Beauty Preservation Pill. Could it be? She slowly furrowed her willow-like brows. Somewhat skeptical, she was uncertain. The female disciple who delivered the pill saw the peak master frown, and thought it was because the mediocre pill displeased her. She immediately spoke. "Peak Master, the one who sent the pill, Tian, is at the foot of the mountain. How does the Peak Master wish to handle this?" Lu Yinxin waved her hand without replying. Instead, she picked up the pill with her jade-like fingers, hesitated for a moment, then brought it to her red lips. She had already examined the pill with her spiritual sense. It is not toxic at all. It is indeed beneficial to people. As for whether it can truly preserve youth, the effects can only be seen after taking it. The pill slipped down the throat, transforming into a cool sensation. A fragrance filled her mouth and nose, causing Lu Yinxin to close her eyes in comfort. The The pill dissolved like sweet spring water, spreading throughout her limbs and bones. The female disciple looked at the peak lord before her, her mouth slightly open, her eyes full of disbelief. In just a few breaths, Lu Yunqin, who had already shown some signs of age, now had skin that became supple and radiant. Her skin was like white snow, and the fine wrinkles at the corners of her eyes had disappeared. Even her brows and eyes had become several times more beautiful, gaining a hint of ethereal elegance. She appeared to have grown younger by nearly 10 years. "Peak Lord, you!" the female disciple exclaimed in surprise. She hesitated as if wanting to say more. Lu Yunqin opened her beautiful eyes and saw the astonishment on her disciple's face. She turned to look at the mirror on the table. When that flawless face in the mirror, with red lips and white teeth, a stunningly beautiful countenance appeared. She parted her red lips slightly, somewhat incredulous. She had thought that even if the pill was effective, at most it would help slow down her aging. But now it seemed she had become even more beautiful than 10 years ago. Was this pill really sent by Shenanze? She turned to ask, somewhat disbelieving. "Peak Lord, it was sent by Shenanze through his disciple Murong Tian in person." Hearing this, a brilliant light flickered in Lu Yunqin's beautiful eyes. She spoke softly, "Take me to see Murong Tian." At the foot of Qingyun Peak, Murong Tian paced nervously. His heart was anxious. 2/4 of an hour had already passed. Still no news had come from inside. Could it be that what his master sent was fake? That made Elder Lu furious? Right now, she might be choosing torture instruments. It's over, Murong Tian thought bitterly. "See, I told you. How could there possibly be a miraculous pill that helps one retain eternal youth?" Even though his own family had been immersed in the alchemical arts for years, they had never heard of such a pill. The female disciple who had been holding a knife nearby saw how nervous he was and couldn't help sneering, already prepared to watch this kid get thrown out by their peak master. Just then, Lu Yunqin, dressed in a blue robe, appeared at the mountain gate. Beside her was the female disciple who had gone to report earlier. "Greetings, peak master." The knife-wielding female disciple immediately cupped her hands. Lu Yunqin nodded slightly. She glanced past her and looked at the young man ahead. Looking him up and down, "You're Murong Tian?" "Greetings, Elder Lu." "Yes, this junior is." Murong Tian spoke somewhat guiltily. His palms were already sweaty. "That pill was good. Such a precious thing. Where did your master obtain it?" Murong Tian, who had been prepared to suffer beating and torture, was stunned. He looked up in surprise, and upon seeing the woman's breathtaking beauty that could shame the world, he realized that his master's pills were indeed real. As expected of master, he had thought as much. Anything master brought out could never be ordinary. With this thought, he suppressed the ecstasy and relief in his heart, cupped his hands and said, "Elder Lu, my master did not inform me." Lu Yunqin frowned. "Is he not allowing you to speak? Or is the origin of this pill questionable?" Murong Tian's heart skipped a beat. He rolled his eyes and quickly began to explain. "Absolutely not. This pill was obtained by my master after going to the far northern lands, enduring countless hardships, narrowly escaping death, and almost being turned into a human stick by the natives. Throughout that journey, my master thought only of you, Elder Lu, so he gritted his teeth and refused to retreat or give up in the face of countless dangers." Lu Yunqin listened to the young man's earnest, chest-thumping fabrication before her. Her beautiful eyes flickered. Going to some far-off polar region? She definitely didn't believe it. That place was extremely dangerous. Even a martial artist at the Earth Spirit stage like her would struggle to come back unscathed, let alone Shun, and who was merely at the later stage of body tempering. However, even though Murong Tian's words might have been exaggerated, the pill was indeed precious, so it couldn't have been easy to obtain. With this thought, she couldn't help but slightly change her view of Shunin, who in her memory had always wallowed in self-pity and seemed dejected. She sighed softly. In truth, the latter didn't seem inherently bad. Back then, hundreds of people died on Azure Cloud Peak, leaving him all alone. That was truly pitiful. As for his pursuit of her in the past, everyone had a heart for beauty. It was only natural to admire someone attractive. So it wasn't wrong for him to have that thought. Compared to those who flaunted their strength or resorted to underhanded tricks. His open courtship was much more gentlemanly. On the contrary, she had looked down on him as a failure back then, and had said such heartless words. During this time, Shunanze had not come to Qingyun Peak even once. Perhaps upon hearing that I was searching everywhere for a cure, he managed to obtain this beauty preservation pill. And because he feared that coming in person would annoy me, he had no choice but to send his disciple. Lu Yunqing's eyelashes fluttered slightly. Suddenly, she felt a bit of sympathy for Shunanze. A cultivator at the late body tempering stage had managed to acquire a beauty preservation pill, which was at least a 5th grade pill. The price he paid for it could well be imagined. Moreover, Shunanze had always been scorned and rejected by a few people within the sect, often vilified behind his back, although the sect leader had sternly forbidden it many times. Some people still loved to gossip behind others' backs. Even I had despised him before, and had once spoken such harsh words to him. Yet, despite all that, he did not give up. Instead, he cared about my matters so earnestly. Tell your master for me. I accept the gift. If he ever encounters any difficulties, he can come to me without hesitation. Lu Yunqing said in a soft voice. Her tone softened considerably. The two disciples standing nearby widened their eyes upon hearing this. They exchanged incredulous glances, somewhat in disbelief. Murong Tian was ecstatic inside. As expected of master, just one pill has such an effect. After the ecstasy, his face turned troubled again. He sighed, a look of self-reproach in his eyes. Pretending to hesitate for a moment, he still clasped his hands and nodded. In that case, this junior will take his leave. Lu Yunqing caught the self-reproach and hesitation in his eyes. She couldn't help but furrow her delicate brows and speak. Has something happened at Qingyun Peak? Murong Tian nodded and said self-reproachfully, it is all this junior's fault, which implicated master. Then, he spoke of how because he finished last in last year's Sect competition, and then Shunin, in order to protect his disciple, had a conflict with the people from the law enforcement hall. Lu Yunqing's expression darkened slightly upon hearing this. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Murong Tian gave a bitter smile. You have never liked him. That's why master didn't want to trouble Elder Lu, and specifically told me not to tell you about this. Lu Yunqing was taken aback. Letting out a sigh, she said, let's go. I'll go back to Qingyun Peak with you. Thank you, Elder. Murong Tian was overjoyed. He immediately cupped his hands. With the help of the Qingyun Peak master, how would the enforcement hall dare to forcefully drive him down the mountain again? On the other side, at Qingyun Peak, Shannon was pacing back and forth, extremely anxious. That kid has been gone for half an hour now. Why hasn't he come back yet? He was restless and uneasy. Could it be that Lu Yunqing really doesn't care about her appearance? Did she disdain the elixir? Is his disciple Murong Tian already turned into a eunuch? No way. The people from the enforcement hall will be here soon. If worst comes to worst, I'll go down the mountain and hide for a while. With that thought, Shannon no longer hesitated. He rushed into the room to pack his bags. Murong Tian's admiration value increased by 50. Just as he was packing his things, he suddenly froze. What's going on? The admiration value actually increased? After he realized what had happened, a look of joy appeared on his face. It seemed the pill was the right gift. Elder Shun, please come out and meet me. Just as he was secretly rejoicing, a voice came from outside. Shun An's heart skipped a beat. He thought, not good. Murong Tian hasn't even returned yet. How did the enforcement hall people get here so fast? Shenanze, come out. I know you're in there. Another somewhat deep and authoritative voice sounded from outside. It was none other than Li Yin, the head of the enforcement hall. He didn't expect that Li Yin would come personally. This is bad. Shun Anze raised an eyebrow. He felt a bit frustrated inside. This enforcement hall head, Li Yin, was domineering in character and one of Lu Yunqing's suitors. Back when the original owner of this body was pursuing Lu Yunqing, this guy's eyes are like daggers every time we meet. Sigh, no way around it. Shen Anze could only sigh. Bracing himself, he walked outside. At the mountain pass stood two figures in imposing black robes. One was a young man, the other middle-aged. They were Wang Hu and his master Li Yin. When the two saw Shan Anze coming out, the former frowned, while the latter wore a mocking expression. Wang Hu sneered coldly, because he was afraid that if he came alone, Shen Anze would use his status to suppress him, so he directly brought his master along. Although Li Yin looked down on Shen Anze, he had been quite displeased for a long time about Shen Anze's blatant pursuit of Liu Yanqin back then. Unfortunately, Shen Anze had been holed up in Qingyun Peak ever since, never leaving or causing trouble. So today, having a rare chance to step on him, he was naturally delighted. Elder Shen, quite the display of authority, daring to lay hands on someone from my enforcement hall. Wang Hu spoke first. His tone was condescending, laced with accusation. Li Yin raised his head, his gaze indifferent as he looked at him. He had initially thought this guy had actually broken through to the Qi realm, as Zhang Shan claimed. But now that he saw him, wasn't he still just at the late stage of body tempering? With a naturally crippled physique, how could he possibly break through to Qi? Shaking his head, Li Yan's eyes were filled with contempt. The oppressive pressure of his late-stage Qingyun realm made Shun and quail inside. He coughed once and braced himself to say, "That Zhang Shan shows no respect for his elders. Don't I, as a peak master, have the right to discipline him? Even if someone from a chores department needs to be disciplined, it's not your place, is it?" Li Yan said coldly. "If we're really talking about discipline, your disciple has been unmotivated for 2 years since entering. He ranked last in 2 consecutive competitions. Instead of disciplining him, you're going after someone from the chores department?" Shen frowned. Murong Tian was not unmotivated. On the contrary, he practiced every chance he got. Extremely diligent, but unfortunately, his talent is also very poor. Even if he weren't a naturally useless body like me, it would be impossible for him to break through to the Qi realm without 3 to 5 years. Today, I, as an elder, am here to inform you that Murong Tian can leave the mountain now. According to the Sect's rules, those who rank last in the Sect competition for 2 consecutive terms are not qualified to stay on Spirit Talisman Mountain, Li Yin said calmly, his words laced with mockery. After all, the Sect doesn't support useless people. If not for Azure Cloud Peak's past merits, you have been kicked out long ago. Shun An's expression turned grim. Not because the other called him useless too, but because of Murong Tian's matter. If he leaves, what will become of me? And what does the Sect doesn't support useless people even mean? Over the years, the Sect has been very poor due to that great battle, so it hasn't allocated many resources to Azure Cloud Peak. At most, the Sect leader and other Peak Masters occasionally send things out of old ties. What if I insist on keeping him at Qingyun Peak? He said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Li Yin and Wang Hu were both stunned for a moment. They couldn't believe the words came from the usually weak-willed Peak Master of Qingyun Peak. And who do you think you are? You think he stays just because you want him to? Do you take the Sect rules as a joke? Li Yin snarled. He didn't even regard the other party as worth his attention. Wang Hu even shook his head. Elder Shun, I advise you to mind your own little piece of land. Don't meddle in matters that aren't your concern. Shun Anze's expression darkened. He took a deep breath and spoke. Murong Tian won't leave. I said so. Seeing his certainty, Wang Hu and Li Yin were both taken aback. Then the former burst out laughing. Shen Anze, do you really think you're an elder? You're just a useless cultivator at the body tempering stage. If the Sect leader hadn't taken pity and given you a title, you would have been thrown off the mountain long ago. Now you still want to challenge the Sect rules. If this matter reaches the Sect leader's ears, I'm afraid you won't even be able to keep your own elder position. Shunin was unafraid, staring directly at the two. Back then, you accepted the gifts from the Murong family and didn't want to take Murong Tian as a disciple. So you placed him on our Qingyun Peak. Now you want to drive him down the mountain. Is this not too shameless? Li Yin showed a sarcastic expression. Anyway, you're the one who accepted him as a disciple. You yourself have no ability to teach him well. If the Murong family wants to blame someone, they should blame you. What does that have to do with this elder? Yu Shunin was furious. He never thought there would be such a shameless person. Just a useless waste. Daring to dream of a toad, eating swan meat is one thing. But now he dares to challenge the Sect rules. Today, this elder will discipline you on behalf of the Sect. Li Yin sneered, feeling displeased at the sight of his handsome, youthful face. He stepped forward, and in an instant, spiritual energy surged. His momentum greatly increased. Shannon frowned. A Earth Spirit Realm expert. Was he going to have to use his only remaining consumable card? What if he couldn't control the force just right and ended up killing him outright? Li Yin saw the hesitation on his face as he stood frozen and assumed he was scared stiff. Sneering, he threw a punch. The air split with a roar as a fist imprint shot forward, heading straight for Shun An's face. One punch like that, and his handsome face would be completely unrecognizable. Shunan was shocked this guy was clearly taking personal revenge over the fact that he had once pursued Lu Yinxin, and the bastard was aiming for his face. Jealousy, pure jealousy that he was better looking than him. Just as Shunan was about to use the consumable card to protect his face, a sudden sword hum rang out. Whoosh, a snow-white longsword flashed by, instantly shattering the heavy fist imprint, appeared before him. At the same time, a clear and pleasant female voice slowly sounded. Hall Masterly openly attacking an elder. I'm afraid that is somewhat inappropriate, isn't it? Hearing this voice, Shunan showed a delighted expression, and Li Yin turned to look, his face showing surprise, then turning ugly. On the mountain path, Lu Yinxin, in simple and elegant green attire, moved her jade-like feet gracefully up the mountain. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains. Lips like dotted cherry blossoms, her peerless beauty seemed to outshine the mountains and rivers here. A clear breeze lifted the hem of her clothes, even more like a celestial being descended to the mortal world, ethereal and free. Beside Lu Yinxin, Murong Tian followed respectfully. Seeing the two of them, Li Yan's expression turned somewhat unpleasant, but still he put on a smiling face and spoke. Elder Lu, why have you come to Qingyun Peak? If you can come, naturally I can come too. Lu Yinxin merely gave him a faint glance, then walked directly to stand before Shunan. Asked softly, are you hurt? Those 4 simple words fell. Everyone present, including Shen Anze, was taken aback. He quickly shook his head, indicating he was fine. Over there, Li Yin saw the goddess of his heart took the initiative to care about a waist, and jealousy surged within him. His face darkened as if it could drip water, seeing that Shun Anze was indeed unharmed. Lu Yinxi nodded and turned to look at Wang Hu and his disciple. Hall Masterly, isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to attack a body-tempering realm cultivator relying on your own cultivation level? Elder Lu misunderstands. Shun Anze violated the sect rules. I was merely enforcing them. Li Yin forced a smile, trying to maintain his image in front of Lu Yinxin. Violating sect rules? Lu Yinxin's beautiful eyes were indifferent. Although Murong Tian came in last in the 2-year competition, he is not an ordinary disciple, but a personal disciple of an elder. Applying those rules to him doesn't seem appropriate, does it? But a personal disciple of an elder. It seems that sect rule doesn't quite apply to him, does it? Shun Anze listened as she defended Qingyun Peak. He breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He winked at his own disciple. The latter winked back in response. The two exchanged a knowing smile. Li Yin furrowed his brows. Although Shun Anze held the title of a peak master and elder, he lacked the qualifications and strength for it. Throughout the sect, who truly regarded him as an elder? Hall Master Su of the Elixir Hall was only at the late Qi Si realm. So is he also unqualified? Lu Yinxin asked again, although Hall Master Su is not strong in cultivation. He is a 4th-grade alchemist. Moreover, his disciple ranked in the top 10. In last year's competition, whether in teaching disciples or refining pills, he is more qualified than Shun Anze. Li Yin shook his head, still looking down on Shun Anze. Lu Yinxin furrowed her delicate brows slightly. That was indeed true. The Elixir Hall master excelled in alchemy, and the disciple he taught was indeed not weak. On the Qingyun Peak side, however, she glanced at Shun Anze and Murong Tian beside her, finding herself momentarily at a loss for an excuse. Seeing her predicament, Li Yin sneered and continued. Elder Lu, you need not defend Qingyun Peak any longer. The sect does not support idle men. The sect leader, out of respect for Qingyun Peak's past achievements, hesitates to speak. But I, as the head of the law enforcement hall, must act impartially. He is unqualified to be an elder, and his disciple can only be considered an ordinary disciple, who should rightly be expelled from the sect. Lu Yinxin frowned. The position of Peak Lord was bestowed by the sect leader. It is not for Li Yin to revoke with a single word. Shun Anze, hearing this, looked displeased. He asked in his mind, "System, can I go down the mountain first and return after I become formidable? Please consider carefully, host. Only by staying amidst conflict can you have more opportunities to trigger the apprentice nurturing task and receive rewards." Task? Shen Anze was taken aback. After thinking for a moment, he stepped forward and spoke. "According to you, how can I prove that I'm qualified to be this elder?" Seeing that he still dares to step out from behind the woman, Li Yan's eyes showed a sneer. "Simple. Either you break through to the return origin realm, or you prove that you have the ability to teach disciples. For example," he said, his eyes filled with mockery, "at the next Sect tournament a month from now, let Murong Tian enter the top 10. Upon hearing this, Liu Yanqing's brow immediately furrowed. This is simply impossible, even though they are all disciples who have joined in the past 2 years. Quite a few among them have already broken through to the Qi realm. There are even martial artists like Wang who at the mid-Qi stage, with Murong Tian only at mid-body refining. There's absolutely no hope for him to squeeze into the top 10, no matter how hard he tries. As for making Shun and breakthrough to the return origin realm, that is even more impossible. Everyone knows that he is a natural waste body, with no hope at all of drawing in Qi. He will never even enter the Qi realm in his lifetime." Shen Anze listened to the voice coming from beside him, a joy rising in his heart. Liu Yanqing's red lips parted slightly, about to speak up to refuse on his behalf. But the person next to him spoke first. "All right, I agree. Shen Anze, Liu Yanqing frowned, looking at him with some confusion. But the latter's gaze was intense, fixed on the startled Li Yan ahead. Then he spoke, his tone sharp. "The top 10 isn't challenging enough. If my disciple, Shen Anze, is to compete, he'll aim for first place." With these resounding words, everyone was stunned. Li Yan and Wang, who over there were frozen, then burst into laughter. What? Did they hear that right? Just a waste who's still at the body tempering stage mid-phase. And he wants to take first place in the upcoming Sect tournament just 1 month from now. That's utterly preposterous. Murong Tian stepped forward and tugged at Shun Anze's sleeve, hesitating. "The top 10 in the tournament. Even I think it's a stretch for myself. Still aiming for first place?" Li Yan smiled, then asked mockingly, "And if you can't do it?" Shun Anze lifted his chin slightly, with his hands clasped behind his back, and said calmly, "If he can't, then I'll leave the Sect together with him." His words were resolute and weighty. Murong Tian gazed at Shun Anze, whose eyes held firm determination, feeling a sting in his nose and immense gratitude in his heart. "Master, worship value plus 50. Current Murong Tian worship level. 4. Obtained 1 lottery chance x1. "Good," said Li Yan, immediately sneering. "Then I'll wait to see how your disciple performs in the grand competition. If you still try to weasel out when the time comes, don't blame me for tossing you off the mountain. Wang Hu, let's go." "Yes, master." Wang Hu cupped his hands, glanced at Murong Tian with utter disdain, then turned and followed him away. Only when the two had vanished from the mountain path did Liu Yanqing furrow her brow and say, "Elder Shun, you acted too rashly. Elder Shun, you're too impulsive. It's not easy to become the top in the grand competition. Besides that Wang Hu, Yu Qingyun from Green Talisman Peak is also at the mid-stage of Qi. He is also a talisman master. If it's just entering the top 10, I might still be able to help your disciple. But first place?" Liu Yanqing sighed and shook her head. Clearly she thought there was no hope at all. "I appreciate your goodwill, Elder Liu. But if my disciple can't even win this mere Sect's grand competition, how could he compete with Qingyun a year later?" Shen Anze turned around and cupped his fists. His tone was serious. When Murong Tian heard these words, his gaze froze in shock. He lowered his head and clenched his fists. "Do you really intend to send him to the Heaven Snow Sect to fight Qingyun?" Liu Yanqing was astonished, her brows furrowed tightly. "Naturally, I, Shun Anze's disciple, is no weakling. Words must be followed by actions, and actions must bear fruit." Shun Anze raised his head and declared. In truth, his acceptance of the Sect grand competition earlier was not an impulse. In his original plan, he would shamelessly refuse to leave, since Liu Yanqing was right there, and that Li Yan wouldn't dare make a move. But just now, the system suddenly issued a mission, and the rewards were quite good. Damn it, if he could get those items, He wouldn't have to fear that Li Yin in the future. Hearing his so confident words, Lu Yinqin shook her head inwardly. Qinyu's talent and strength were ranked among the best in the entire southern Ju domain. Catching up to her wouldn't be so easy. As for the 3-year vow Murong Tian had made to her, everyone had long since dismissed it as a joke, never taking it seriously. After hesitating for a moment, Lu Yinqin finally spoke up. Why don't you hand Murong Tian over to me? I'll do my best to help him break through to the Qi realm within this month, and ensure he makes it into the top 10. But as for first place, I'm afraid it's impossible. Shen was a bit surprised to hear this and glanced at her. After all, before, Lu Yinqin had been somewhat averse to him. Even if she accepted a pill from him, her attitude shouldn't have changed this fast. It's just a transaction, isn't it? He glanced suspiciously at Murong Tian beside him, wondering in his heart, could that kid have said something secretly? Faced with Lu Yunqin's goodwill, Shun Anze chose to shake his head. Just guaranteeing a spot in the top 10 wasn't enough. The system's task was to become first in the grand competition. Although failure this time had no penalty, losing those rewards was, for Shun Anze, with his meager assets, the second harshest punishment. No need to trouble Elder Lu. I'll teach my own disciple myself. Lu Yinqin frowned. You teach him? Her doubtful look clearly questioned Shun Anze's ability. After all, even if Shun himself went to participate in the great competition, I'm afraid he wouldn't even have a chance to enter the top 10. Could he really teach a top disciple? Disciple, Shun Anze said, looking to the side. Disciple is here, Murong Tian responded, with respectful eyes. Do you trust me, your master? I trust. Almost without any hesitation, Murong Tian answered directly, his expression firm, full of reverence. Seeing the high spirits of this master-disciple pair, Lu Yinqin became somewhat puzzled. These two, isn't one a naturally crippled body, and the other extremely poor talent? What exactly happened that made them both so confident? Murong Tian, would you like to come with me to Qingyun Peak? I'll teach you the falling petal's palm. Although puzzled, Lu Yinqin still spoke to remind him, hoping Murong Tian would leave with her. After all, she had received the favor of the beauty pill. She still wanted to do her best to help Qingyun Peak, as a way to make up for what she did to Shun Anze back then. The falling blossom palm technique is a high-grade Xian level martial skill. It is considered top tier throughout the entire Spirit Talisman Mountain. Others would dream of having the chance to learn it. But what she never expected was, Murong Tian didn't hesitate at all. He simply shook his head and refused. Thank you, Elder Lu, but I prefer to continue learning swordsmanship from my master. Lu Yinqin was completely stunned. What kind of swordsmanship is that? Could it possibly surpass my falling blossom palm? Are this master and disciple out of their minds? One is a late-stage body-tempering cultivator who thinks he knows it all, wanting to teach a talentless disciple to become the top in the Sect tournament. The other is at mid-stage body-tempering, yet firmly believes in a master whose talent is even worse than his own, insisting on learning swordsmanship from him. What is this world coming to? Me, an Earth Spirit realm martial artist, am no match for a late-stage body-tempering cultivator? Well, if you change your mind, feel free to come find me at Qingyun Peak anytime. Unable to persuade, Lu Yinqin had no choice but to drop it. Leaving these words behind, she drifted away. On the mountaintop, only the master and disciple remained. Master, after many years of training, after refining those 10 body-tempering pills, I should barely reach the late stage of body-tempering. Murong Tian said in a deep voice, but to become the first place in the Sect competition, the greatest obstacle is not Wang Hu, but Yu Qingyun of Green Talisman Peak. He is the hot favorite to win the championship this time. He was the champion last year. Shannon rubbed his chin. The methods of a talisman master are indeed extraordinary. Within the same cultivation level, they are nearly invincible. To win against a talisman master at the mid-stage of Qi, Murong Tian's cultivation must at least be on par with him, and he must also have means to counter a talisman master. Thinking this, he beckoned. Murong Tian immediately leaned in. After hearing his words, his face showed surprise and confusion. What does master need these medicinal herbs for? If you need pills, I have plenty at home. I can just have someone deliver them. The Murong family is a lineage of alchemists. Though not as great as the Lingfu Mountain Medicine Hall. We do have most common herbs. As for these pills, no one else can refine them. Shen Anze said with a faint smile. He had already asked the system earlier. That marrow-cleansing pill doesn't exist in this world. A pill that can cleanse one's meridians and marrow. Once it spreads, it would likely cause a frenzy among the world. Of course, the prerequisite for cleansing meridians is that one has even a shred of talent. But Shen Anze has a naturally crippled physique. Even the marrow-cleansing pill is useless for him. No one else can refine them. Morong Tian was taken aback. He asked suspiciously, "But Elder Su of the Lingyao Hall has always treated you coldly, Master. Would he be willing to help?" Bonk. A flick landed on his forehead. Shen Anze said in displeasure, "Do I, your master, look like someone who needs to beg others for favors?" Morong Tian covered his forehead and said somewhat dejectedly, "But all the alchemists in the sect are in the Spirit Herb Hall." Bonk. Another crisp flick on the forehead. "Who told you that I was going to look for someone from the Spirit Herb Hall to refine pills?" "Then, Master, you don't mean to let your disciple eat raw spirit herbs, do you?" Morong Tian's face immediately turned bitter. But then, thinking that this matter concerned whether the two of them, master and disciple, could stay, he gritted his teeth and said, "Even eating raw herbs is fine. As long as there's a sip of water, your disciple can eat 3 acres a day." Bonk. Third time's the charm. Shen Anze withdrew his hand and said calmly, "What are you eating? Are you a bull warrior, eating 3 acres a day?" Speaking, he turned his back under Morong Tian's puzzled gaze, facing the blazing sun high in the sky. A gentle breeze brushing his face, his silhouette infinitely imposing. "Who told you that I don't know how to refine pills?" Looking at that back, radiating a golden aura, Morong Tian looked hesitant. He had something he didn't have the heart to say. "Master, you don't even have a cauldron." Shen An's mouth twitched. He immediately turned and raised his hand, only to find Morong Tian had already dodged 15 meters away. "No cauldron? Doesn't Green Cloud Peak have a kitchen? Is the firewood not burnable, or the pot full of holes?" A true alchemist, even without an alchemy furnace, can still produce top-grade pills. Morong Tian was somewhat moved. It seemed his own horizons were narrow. Indeed, a master who could teach him such an amazing swordsmanship. Wouldn't be surprising if his alchemy skills were extraordinary. Then he scampered off to arrange for his family to send medicinal herbs up the mountain. Shannon watched him leave. At this moment, he was extremely frustrated. "System, can I really make pills without a cauldron? You're not lying to me, are you?" Please do not doubt this system's words. A true alchemist, even without an alchemy furnace, can still produce top-grade pills. Shen An's mouth twitched. "Damn it, if you're going to fool me, at least make up your own lie. Just copying the same line I used to fool my disciple. Do you take me for a fool? But there's no other way now. The alchemy furnace is way too expensive." He couldn't afford it. While Morong Tian went off to write the letter, he started his second lottery draw in his mind. As the wheel lit up before his eyes, those dazzling golden items appeared in front of him. Extremely tempting. "Use my disciple's 10 years of life to exchange for a gold," he muttered silently in his heart. Then he activated the draw. Beep, beep, beep. Under the dizzying spin, the pointer gradually slowed down, passing by golden light clusters one after another, slowly moving toward the white ordinary area. Seeing this, Shannon couldn't help but shake his head inwardly. Just as he thought the pointer was about to land on the white area, it completely stopped, barely a hair's breadth away from the white area. Shen Anze was taken aback, then instantly beamed with joy. It seems he really was the child of fortune. He hadn't expected to hit gold just by casually drawing. "System, is this peerless sword art very powerful?" Shen Anze curiously asked in his mind. "Rest assured, host, if it's from the system, it's bound to be top-notch." Hearing the system say that, Shen Anze became even more excited. He couldn't wait to open the introduction of the sword art. Peerless sword art inheritable. A supreme technique that can condense an unrivaled sword heart. Cultivated to the later stages, it can command all swords under heaven. No sword in hand surpasses having a sword. A single strike can sever a person's life, force, and soul. Following that was a bunch of flashy descriptions. In short, this sword art was awesome. Extremely awesome. "System, let me cultivate it quickly," Shen Anze said with some anticipation. Host is born with a crippled constitution, unable to cultivate. He became depressed. Just now, he was a bit excited and had forgotten about this point. Unable to draw qi into the body. He can't even reach the qi si realm. So naturally, he can't cultivate this technique. System, is there really no way for me to gain the opportunity to cultivate? Not even with Dragonbone and Phoenix Blood? He asked, unwilling to give up. No can do. This system is bound to the host's fate. If I reshape your tendons and bones or alter your fate, this system will vanish, and the host will die along with it. For the specific reason, please investigate on your own later, host. So I only have the lifespan of a mortal? Then what use are you to me? The flesh will eventually be limited. Only the soul can endure forever. Please set your sights further, host. Shunin fell silent. He shook his head, completely giving up the idea of breaking through himself. Without entering nirvana, you remain mere mortal flesh, and your lifespan won't increase either. In 100 years, whether he could even reach the upper 3 realms was a question mark. As for lifespan, there are countless strange techniques and tricks in the world. Breaking through realms isn't the only way to obtain it. Becoming a 7th grade alchemist would allow him to refine pills that extend life and longevity. Since I can't practice this peerless sword art myself, I'll pass it on to Murong Tian. The first place in this grand competition must be secured. Master. In the distance, Murong Tian ran back to Qingyun Peak. Waving continuously, he said, I've already sent word to my family. They should deliver the medicinal herbs in a few days. Good, come here. Shunin stood with his hands clasped behind his back, a profound look in his eyes. Master, what is it? The young man trotted over to him. His expression was curious and puzzled. Let me ask you, what is your purpose in cultivation? Murong Tian was taken aback and scratched his head. My purpose in cultivation? After a moment of thought, he said, I just want to catch up with Qin Xianhua and then repay the humiliation she brought to our family. That's not enough. Shunin shook his head, his expression extremely serious. Not enough. The young man was stunned. Somewhat confused, he looked into the unusually solemn eyes of the middle-aged man in white. Yes, it's not enough, Shun Anze repeated again. He spoke earnestly. Disciple, do you know how vast this world is? How many powerful beings are there in this realm? Do you really want to stay cooped up in this tiny corner of the great and dynasty? As he spoke, he made his own calculations in his heart. Since he had no hope of breaking through in this lifetime, he would cultivate the most formidable disciple. In the future, when traveling outside, he would simply mention his disciple's name to everyone he met. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Murong Tian fell silent. He truly wanted to go out and see the world. But unfortunately, his talent was too poor. He didn't even know if he could reach the middle 3 realms in this lifetime. Wanting to step out was easier said than done. Seeing the youth both tempted and downcast, Shun Anze struck while the iron was hot. The outside world is incredibly exciting. An empress mended the sky with stones. A great immortal drew a bow to shoot down the sun. Even mere children could overturn rivers and seas. Pull out dragon sinews, strip dragon bones. Murong Tian was stunned and glanced suspiciously at his master. Mending the sky with stones, drawing a bow to shoot down the sun. He had never heard of these things before. Though he had never heard them, it didn't stop his heart from starting to burn with passion. The image of Shun Anze splitting the sky with a single sword strike surfaced again in his mind. Clouds and mist scattering away. His gaze became resolute. Since Master said they existed, then they must exist. The reason he hadn't heard of these experts could only be because they were not in the Great Dynasty, or even not in the Southern Ju domain. Your master is old and limited in talent. I fear I'll never have the chance in this life to go see the world beyond. Shin Anze let out a long sigh, a look of regret in his eyes. My disciple is here. Their eyes met. Shin Anze's gaze was distant, filled with hope and benevolence. I hope you too can become one of those legends. Becoming a legend, the young man's eyes burned with passion. A seed has already been planted in her heart, beginning to sprout. Seeing that he had almost convinced her enough, Shunin waved his sleeve grandly, and his voice became resolute. Disciple, today your master will pass on to you an unparalleled divine skill, unmatched in heaven and earth, helping you set foot on the path of the Sword Immortal. Before Murong Tian could speak, a fierce wind howled, and Shunin pointed directly at his brow. In an instant, The world was stirred by wind and clouds. Thunder and lightning flashed, and the entire sky seemed to let out a mournful cry at that moment. The surrounding grass and trees suddenly stood upright, as if they had transformed into sharp swords, intending to cleave the heaven and split the earth. On Qingyun Peak, Lu Yinqin had just returned to the mountain gate when she saw the suddenly darkened clouds and couldn't help furrowing her delicate brows. Such a strong sword intent. Could this be the emergence of a peerless sword path? At the main hall of Spirit Talismans, Qingyun, the head of Spirit Talisman Mountain, leaped into the air, instantly appeared outside the Grand Hall, his gaze solemnly fixed on the thunderous sky. The boundless sword intent contained between heaven and earth even made him feel secretly alarmed. What exactly had happened to actually stir the great forces of heaven and earth? His expression was shocked, his brows tightly knit. The last time such a change occurred in the Dan dynasty was years ago when the youngest daughter of the Qin family first entered the martial path, triggered by the monstrous talent she displayed when drawing qi into her body. Moreover, compared to today's upheaval covering the entire Spirit Talisman Mountain, it was like a small sorcerer meeting a great one, utterly insignificant, not worth mentioning at all. Could it be a treasure appearing in the world? Or could it be that someone on our Spirit Talisman Mountain has comprehended some great Tao and revealed monstrous talent? Yuzi's eyes flickered. He waved his hand grandly. Come here. As a shout fell, several figures soon appeared. Sect leader, what are your orders? Investigate who it is that has stirred the great forces of heaven and earth. The few of them exchanged glances. Then one of them stepped forward and clasped his hands in a salute. Reporting to the sect leader, Qingyun of Green Talisman Peak has been cultivating in the Talisman Tower recently. I suppose this matter is related to him. Qingyun? Yuzi frowned slightly. The latter is the direct disciple of the Green Talisman Peak Master. His mental power talent is extremely high, but it shouldn't be enough to stir such a vast power of heaven and earth. Moreover, within this power, there is clearly an infinite sword intent. It doesn't seem to have much to do with talisman arts. Reporting to the sect leader, this sword intent seems to be coming from Green Cloud Peak. Yuzi was startled and instinctively looked toward Green Cloud Peak. But soon he shook his head. What am I thinking? One Shunanze, one Murong Tian. How could these two possibly stir such a surging power of heaven and earth? Found it. Just then, the person who had been investigating in the back suddenly spoke up. Yuzi turned to look at him. Sect leader, just now Qingyun was inside the Talisman Tower and successfully inherited the Heavenly Sword Talisman left by the Heavenly Sword Elder 200 years ago. Hearing this, Yuzi nodded in sudden understanding, secretly thinking, so that's how it is. No wonder it could stir the power of heaven and earth. Although the commotion was indeed a bit too exaggerated, it was still within reason. It couldn't be that this grand momentum of heaven and earth and the astonishing sword intent were caused by Shenanze or his disciple, could it? If it really were the case, he might as well go find a piece of tofu and bump into it and die. On Qingyun Peak, the thunder faded away. The clouds parted and the mist dispersed. Shenanze's face was pale and weak. He felt his legs trembling. Damn it, this inheritance thing is really exhausting. Anyone who didn't know would think he had kidney deficiency. Disciple, how do you feel? He raised his sleeve to wipe his sweat. Murong Tian snapped back to reality. He vigorously rubbed his eyes, looking at the person before him in disbelief. What had just appeared in his mind was, what kind of technique? Wushuang Sword Heart, the supreme of 10,000 swords? This technique, probably, is already at the heaven grade, disciple. Thank you, master, for passing on the teachings. Without the slightest hesitation, the young man fell to his knees with a thud and kowtowed 3 times. His eyes filled with excitement. Shun Anze frowned. Why did passing on the one sword to open the heavenly gate earlier level him up 3 times directly, but now only 1 level? Response to host. The higher the level of admiration, the more the admiration points obtained each time diminish. He felt a bit frustrated. It seems the path to getting his disciple to full admiration level is still long and arduous. The art of persuasion is not yet complete. The comrade still needs to work hard. All right, hurry up and get up. In this Sect competition, if you don't take first place, then both master and disciple will be kicked down the mountain. Shun Anze stepped forward to help Murong Tian up. Speaking earnestly, "Master, rest assured," said Murong Tian firmly. "Disciple will give it his all, even if it costs his life. I will not let Master down." Murong Tian spoke resolutely. In his heart, Shun Anze had fully transformed into a reclusive master. After all, he had successively produced such peerless martial arts as "One sword opens the heavenly gate." And now he has produced a heaven-grade cultivation method. If someone like this isn't a reclusive master, then what is? Could he really just be a waste at the late stage of body forging? This child is teachable. Shun Anze nodded with satisfaction, his eyes showing relief. "As your master, I await the day when you become a true sword immortal." With these words, he turned and left. He did not choose to transmit the other two martial arts now. He was simply too exhausted. There was still one beauty pill left, which he was reluctant to use for now. In the future, perhaps he could rely on it to cling to a powerful backer. Of course, he had to save it. Murong Tian watched Shun Anze leave. With determination in his eyes, he ran towards the training ground. He took out the body-forging pill that the latter had given him and swallowed it. He began to cultivate. Soon, 10 days had passed. The reason for the strange phenomenon that had shocked the entire Spirit Talisman Mountain earlier had completely spread. It was Qingyun from Green Talisman Peak, the heavenly sword talisman he had inherited within the sword tower. His background was extraordinary. 200 years ago, the heavenly sword elder of Spirit Talisman Mountain had split the heavens and earth with a single sword talisman. He was just one step away from becoming a great power of the upper three realms. At that time, his fame resounded throughout the entire Great and Dynasty. The heavenly sword talisman he left behind after his passing. Countless talisman masters yearned to comprehend and obtain, yet ultimately failed. Unexpectedly, just a few days ago, Qingyun actually succeeded in inheriting it. Such monstrous talent made the entire Spirit Talisman Mountain both envious and jealous. As for the Sect tournament 20 days later, everyone was certain that first place was already his for the taking. Shortly after news of Qingyun's feat spread, another bombshell news was revealed. That is, Murong Tian of Green Cloud Peak would compete with Qingyun for the top spot in this year's tournament. As soon as this news spread, the whole Spirit Talisman Mountain was once again abuzz. But this time, it was not envy and excitement, but ridicule and disdain. Who does Murong Tian think he is? Dead last in 2 consecutive grand competitions. And he dares to dream of being first? Haha, even last place is still a first, just the wrong kind. I heard this bet wasn't Murong Tian's own idea. It was his master who forced it on him. He said if Murong Tian couldn't win first place, the two of them would pack up and leave. Elder Shun is only at the late body tempering stage himself. Soon, rumors spread like wildfire across Spirit Talisman Peak. This matter quickly became gossip among disciples of all peaks and halls. Those from the discipline hall were mocking the pair for their overreach. They felt the two were nothing but a disgrace to the sect. Better they leave sooner, to spare the sect any more embarrassment. Still, most disciples remained level-headed. They didn't join in the ridicule, but many thought that such a declaration from Azure Cloud Peak must have been provoked by Hall Master Li's pressure. Pity was the prevailing sentiment, but whether it was mockery or sympathy, no one believed Murong Tian could truly take first place. As for the rumors outside, the master and disciple had no intention of paying them any mind. Today, the Murong family had already sent someone to deliver the medicinal herbs. Although it was unclear why they were many days later than expected, at least they had finally arrived. After receiving the herbs, Shunan rushed to the kitchen at once. The master and disciple, one washed the pot and boiled water, the other chopped wood and lit the fire. Anyone who didn't know would think they were preparing an extra meal for tonight. It was worth mentioning that, over these 10 days, thanks to 10 body-tempering pills and his usual diligent training, Murong had successfully broken through to the late stage of body tempering. Now, only one step remained, and he would be able to draw qi into his body. But this step was also the most difficult. After all, the worse one's talent, the longer it took to draw qi into the body. Master, can pills really be made with an iron pot? Mu Qianrong's face was blackened as he kept adding firewood to the stove. If I, your master, say it's possible, then it's possible. Shun Anze replied with unwavering certainty in his words. But inwardly he had no confidence. After all, the system had said so, though he now possessed the knowledge and insight of a third-grade pill refiner. He had neither spiritual energy nor mental power. So he had no idea if, by following this method, he could actually produce pills from the furnace. And now his only hope was that the marrow-cleansing pill would help Qingyun induce qi into his body. Otherwise, given his natural talent, 20 days would be nowhere near enough to break through the Qi Sea realm, let alone compete with fighters like Wang Hu. Or Yu Qingyun. Master, can you really refine pills? I've never seen anyone chop herbs with a kitchen knife before. Qingyun lifted his head to look at Shun Anze, who was hacking away, with a cleaver on the chopping board, slicing spirit herbs with a steady crack, a flicker of doubt showing on his face. What do you know? I, your master, am controlling the dosage. Just to avoid accidentally giving you too much, kid. If you break through too fast, that would be bad. It easily leads to restlessness. Shun Anze replied grumpily. Oh, master, then what grade is this marrow-cleansing pill? Why have I never heard of it? 3rd grade. Master, shut your mouth. Shun Anze turned back with a grimace. The youth shuddered, shrinking his neck, facing endless questions. Shun Anze's head had been buzzing lately. Why hadn't he noticed before that this kid talks so much? Tian looked at him weakly. He ventured softly. Master, last question. Speak. Shun Anze threw the cut herbs into the pot carelessly, speaking impatiently. What realm are you actually in? The youth's eyes held hope and curiosity. This was already the 30th time he had asked this question in the past 10 days. Late body tempering stage? I don't believe it. The youth's eyes were clear and pure. Shun Anze turned to look at him. He casually grabbed a willow twig tucked at his waist. Then, the kitchen echoed with Tian's wails. Master, I am your personal disciple. Let's talk it out. No need for violence. Ouch. Master, I was wrong. I won't ask again next time. The pill. Master, the pill is about to burn. A quarter of an hour later, the two lifted the pot lid. They fell silent at the sight inside the pot. Master, this black, mushy paste-like thing, is it really a pill? Can it actually be eaten? Just try it and you'll find out. I won't try it. Tian shook his head like a rattledrum. He scratched his head and ventured, elders first. Master, you take the first bite. Shun Anze turned and left, and locked the kitchen door from the outside. He drew the willow branch again. Then ouch, Master, stop hitting. I'll eat it, all right. Looking at the sticky, pitch-black thing in the bowl, Tian's throat bobbed. Good disciple, hurry up and eat. This is something precious. Shun Anze stood by, a smile in his eyes, looking kind and benevolent, clapping the willow branch in his hand. Tian felt miserable inside. He took a deep breath, stealing his expression. Screw it. I'll just suffer for 3 days and nights if I have to. With that thought, he hesitated no more. He raised the bowl to his mouth. At the same time, a voice rang out in Shun Anze's mind. His mouth twitched, feeling the urge to smack this brat with the willow branch. But then, something suddenly occurred to him. He quickly asked in his mind, System, if admiration points can be deducted, what if after my level drops, I level up again? Could I get another reward? He was a little excited if that were the case. He could keep leveling up during this phase where it was easy to earn admiration points and farm rewards over and over again. The system paused for a moment before finally giving a response. Shun have felt like 500 small goals were waving goodbye to him. He wanted to slap himself twice. If only he'd tried it first. Why bother asking? Then he asked, is there a limit on taking disciples? Can I go down a mountain now and recruit 108 disciples? No, you cannot. Only after your previous disciple's admiration value reaches max can the host take on the next disciple. Fiend. Shun An's little plan in his mind was completely shattered. It seemed he could only focus on squeezing every bit of value out of one disciple for now. Shaking his head, he turned his gaze eagerly to Tian, who had already sat down cross-legged on the ground. The latter was now drenched in sweat. His face flushed red, his heart filled with alarm. Although the thing was as hard to swallow as snot, once it dissolved, a strange force began to surge through his meridians, burning intensely as time ticked by minute. the force growing stronger and stronger, causing his brows to gradually furrow. The excruciating pain felt like needles piercing every part of his body. However, Murong Tian was shocked to discover that his long, clogged meridians were actually showing signs of expansion under the impact of this force. It felt as if something was coming in and out, repeatedly clearing a path. Overjoyed at this discovery, he clenched his teeth tightly and remained silent, silently enduring this piercing, heart-wrenching pain. Master was improving his talent for his sake. He absolutely could not let down his master's good intentions. Only by improving his own talents would he have a better chance of stepping foot into the Heaven Snow Sect in the future and challenging Qingyun. Adoration plus 30. Shen Anzei's lips curled slightly. It seems the marrow-cleansing pill has already started to take effect. Looking at the boy's twisted expression, he must be enduring intense pain right now. The description on the marrow-cleansing pill formula says that to improve one's aptitude, one must necessarily endure pain that ordinary people cannot bear, like thousands of arrows piercing the heart. This kid is quite tough. Shen Anzei saw that he was gritting his teeth tightly, not uttering a single sound. He shook his head slightly. It seemed the humiliation from the 3-year pact had been engraved too deeply in his heart, to the point that he could clench his teeth and endure such agony. After all, he was still a 16-year-old youth, and the son of the Murong family head, spoiled since childhood. He had never suffered such pain before. Those who become protagonists are either exceptionally strong-willed or blessed with deep fortune and extraordinary talent. If it's you, maybe you can really do it. Shen Anzei couldn't help letting his imagination run wild. He was already looking forward to the day when Mu Tianrong would transform into a great emperor, commanding the world with majesty. If that day ever came, then he, as the master, would be living the high life for sure. Just as he was fantasizing about having a harem, having his disciples scour the land for beautiful women to pamper and enjoy, and discussing the pleasures of life, a sudden, overwhelmingly nauseating smell drifted to his nose. A sour stench so intense it was like someone had shoved your head into a steaming pile of fresh something. The aroma filled every inch of his mouth and nose from close range, reaching straight into his soul. Holy shit, straight into the soul. Holy crap. Disciple, did you just crap yourself? Shen Anzei immediately grabbed some scallions from the stove and stuffed them into his nose, covering his mouth. Uffed, looking at Murong Tian, whose body started spurting black, foul-smelling liquid. He quickly grabbed a tool to shield his handsome face. A warm sensation spread across his face. Shen Anzei was stunned for a moment, then glanced at the tool in his hand. The wooden ladle covered in holes left him utterly dumbfounded. Uffed, the black liquid seemed to be gushing out more and more. Holy crap! Shen Anzei turned and ran. With a bang, he slammed the kitchen door shut. He dashed to the well, drew water, and washed his face. Only after 7 or 8 washes did the smell on his face finally dissipate. He looked utterly dejected, never expecting the marrow-cleansing pill to be so potent. Master, from afar, Murong Tian, his face pitch black, came running over, revealing 2 rows of snow-white teeth. His expression was excited, and he reached out to hug the Shen Anzei ahead. Master, my meridians? Shen An's mouth twitched. He turned and ran, leaving Murong Tian stunned in place. Scratching his head in confusion, Murong Tian thought, usually when Master sees me, his gaze is rather lecherous. But why did he run away as soon as he saw me this time? Wash yourself and the kitchen clean before coming to see me. Don't bathe in the pool at Qingyun Peak. Shen Anzei had already run far away, leaving behind this one sentence. Murong Tian finally caught on. He frowned, raised his hand to his nose, and sniffed carefully. Then, as night fell, the stars and moon hung high, and the evening breeze carried a faint fragrance, gently swirling, brushing over the flowers and grass of Qingyun Peak. In the side hall, are you sure you've washed yourself clean? Disciple soaked in the water for half an hour. There's really no smell left. Murong Tian looked bitterly at Shen Anzei, who was hiding in the distance, with 2 wads of cloth stuffed in his nose. What's the deal with that basket of fish? Shunan pointed to the basket of fish at the side of his feet. Disciple saw that you've been working hard lately, Master. So I specially caught some fish. Wanted to nourish your body. Why are they all belly up? And their eyes are green. Ah, I don't know. Maybe there's some special spirit fish. Murong Tian scratched his head. Special fish? Shannon looked suspicious. He pulled out the cloth plug from his nose. Only after confirming there was really no smell did he take a deep breath of fresh air. Take it away. Take it away, you dare eat whatever fish. Aren't you afraid of poisoning? He waved his hand. Asked again, Master didn't let you bathe in the bath pool of Qingyun Peak. Where did you go to soak for half an hour? Murong Tian touched his chin and thought for a moment. Not sure, but that river seems quite close to the enforcement peak. Shun Anze nodded. No matter where he washed up, as long as it wasn't at Qingyun Peak. Now that the marrow cleansing and meridian purging is complete, the next step is to let him cultivate the unrivaled sword art and break through to the Qi realm. How do you feel now? Shun Anze's gaze was sharp as he fixed his eyes on the young man and asked. The young man was brimming with excitement. Master, after taking the pill, I feel so much lighter all over. Before, when I practiced swordsmanship and circulated my energy, there was always a sense of stagnation and blockages. But now it's incredibly smooth. It seems the marrow cleansing pill has indeed improved his aptitude quite a bit. Shun Anze nodded to himself, a sigh of relief in his heart. Though it might not rival those monstrous prodigies, the current Murong Tian should barely qualify as having ordinary talent. Just ordinary. After all, the ingredients used in this marrow-cleansing pill aren't exactly rare treasures. If just one pill could easily turn him into a genius, that would be too heaven-defying. Master, this disciple will immediately have the family send over several hundred more herbs. While he was pondering, the young man was excited and eager to try. His eyes gleamed with undisguised excitement. If he could eat hundreds or thousands of these pills that improve talent, then he might become an even more monstrous genius than Qin Xianhua. Bang! Shannon gave him a flick on the forehead, annoyed. Do you think this pill is a cabbage? Eat whenever you want. Although this pill has excellent effects, each person can only take it once. A second pill has no effect at all. Upon hearing this, Murong Tian showed a look of regret. His genius dream shattered. All right, don't be ungrateful. Quickly cultivate the peerless sword control art and quickly draw qi into your body. Afterward, your master will teach you 2 more martial arts techniques. Upon hearing there were 2 more martial arts techniques, Murong Tian's eyes immediately lit up. Could it be another sword technique as powerful as one sword opens heaven's gate? Seeing through his thoughts, Shannon calmly spoke. Don't get your hopes up. It's not that powerful. They're merely Earth grade upper and middle rank. Oh, okay. Murong Tian felt somewhat disappointed upon hearing this. Then he paused. Why am I disappointed? But they're Earth grade, something that would cause a worldwide frenzy if released to the outside world. And now I'm looking down on such treasures. Damn, I must have been corrupted by Master. It's all because Master said something earlier. They're merely Earth grade upper and middle rank. Countless people joined Green Luan Peak just to learn Elder Lu's mystic grade upper rank martial art, Flying Flower Falling Leaf Palm. But techniques of a higher rank than Flying Flower Falling Leaf Palm, in Master's mouth, have become merely, and just in the like. Shun Anze glanced suspiciously at Murong Tian, whose expression was peculiar. He didn't know what Murong Tian was imagining again. All right, focus on your cultivation. There are only 20 days left until the Sect competition. Your master will go out later to thoroughly gather information about your opponents this time. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. He patted the young man on the shoulder. He said earnestly yes. Master, Murong Tian said respectfully, cupping his hands. He watched Shun Anze walk away. A hint of emotion stirred in his heart. His master rarely left the peak on ordinary days. Yet this time, for his sake, he took the initiative to leave Qingyun Peak to gather information. It seemed he held an important place in his master's heart. Shun Anze, after stepping out of the hall, curled the corner of his mouth slightly. His heart was filled with eager anticipation. He wondered if such a hot event, whether anyone in the sect would set up a betting pool. If he bet on his apprentice to win, making a huge upset, wouldn't he get rich all at once? Just to be safe, I should bet a bit on the others too. Otherwise, if I really lose, I'll be cleaned out. Shun stroked his chin, carefully calculating in his mind how to place his bets most securely. As he thought, he began to worry again. He had no money on hand. Would it be embarrassing to go borrow from his disciple? After a moment, he slapped his forehead, his eyes lighting up. Wasn't there still one person he could borrow from? Qingyun Peak, side hall. Lu Yunqin listened to the female disciple's report below. Her brows furrowed slightly. Yu Zhengyuan of Qingfu Peak had inherited the heavenly sword talisman from the talisman tower. Yes, the news came from the elder guarding the tower. It can't be false. Hearing this, Lu Yunqin's expression grew somewhat serious. This is troublesome. Yu Zhengyuan was already nearly invincible at the mid-stage Qi realm. Now, with the powerful heavenly sword talisman in his grasp, he might even be able to fight against those at the late-stage Qi realm. Even if Murong Tian could reach the mid-stage of the Qi during this time, could he possibly withstand the power of the heavenly sword talisman? Even my own flying flower, falling leaf palm, is nothing in front of the heavenly sword talisman. To contend with the heavenly sword talisman, one would need at least an earth-tier martial technique. Lu Yunqin's beautiful eyes showed a hint of hesitation. After a long while, she sighed. Forget it. He is willing to give me such a precious beauty preservation pill. So an earth-tier martial technique. I might as well gift him one. With this thought, she spoke softly. Call Fei Shuang here. Yes. The female disciple cupped her hands and respectfully withdrew. Before long, another woman dressed in the uniform of a spirit talisman mountain disciple arrived. She was tall and slender, with narrow, phoenix-like eyes that appeared exceptionally cold and proud. She was precisely the senior disciple of Green Wan Peak, Ling Feishuang, who was now at the half-step return to Origin Realm. She was also the previous first place in the Sect competition before Yu Zhengyuan. Master, what business do you have summoning your disciple? Ling Feishuang clasped her hands and spoke coolly. Deliver this mirror moon palm technique to Qingyun Peak. Teach it to Murong Tian. Lu Yunqin took out a jade slip from her storage ring. Hearing this, Ling Feishuang's brows showed surprise. Master, this is an earth-grade low-tier martial technique. Such a precious item. You say no more. Lu Yunqin waved her slender hand. Just deliver this item, that's all. By the way, explain its subtle essence to Murong Tian. To aid his cultivation. The latter frowned, a look of confusion in her eyes. Why was her own master so concerned about someone from Qingyun Peak, even bringing out an earth-grade technique? Yes, although puzzled, she didn't think it proper to say more. She took the jade slip, bowed, and withdrew. After leaving Qingyun Peak, she headed straight towards Qingyun Peak. Not long after Ling Feishuang had left, then that female disciple entered again. Peak Master, Elder Shun requests an audience. Shen Anze? Lu Yunqin was startled. Why is he suddenly coming to see me? Could it be that he's realized he can't teach Murong Tian at all? Regretting his earlier boast, Lumin, before long, Shen Anze came in rubbing his hands. A friendly smile spread across his face. Elder Lu, it's been days. I've missed you dearly. Lu Yunqin furrowed her delicate brows. What are you here for? I've come to discuss a major matter with you, Elder Lu. Shen Anze grinned, looking quite mysterious. I wanted to borrow 1 million gold from you, Elder Lu. I've already sent Fei Shuang to Qingyun Peak. Lu Yunqin was momentarily stunned. It took her a moment to process, thinking she'd misheard. Frowning, she asked again, what did you say you wanted to do? Shen Anze scratched his head, looking rather embarrassed as he repeated himself. I wanted to borrow 1 million gold from you, Elder Lu. The atmosphere in the side hall grew somewhat quiet. Lu Yunqin frowned, her brows tightly knitted. She stared at the person below her. Her expression showed confusion and bewilderment. What does this mean? This guy came to Qingyun Peak, not for Murong Tian, after all, but to borrow money? And he dares to ask for 1 million gold coins right off the bat. What do you need so much money for? Lu Yunqin looked at him suspiciously. Naturally, it will be a great use. Elder Lu, rest assured, after the grand tournament, I will definitely repay the full amount. Not a single coin will be missing. Shen Anze spoke with a smile. His eyes showed anticipation. Just now, he had already inquired outside and found out clearly about the Sect grand tournament. There really is someone running a betting pool. It's at Qingxi Peak, and it said that the betting pool has some connection to the Qingxi Peak master. No worry about them taking the money and running away. What made him even more tempted was the odd for my disciple, Murong Tian, winning first place are still 1 to 10. Liu Yinxin fell silent. Does this guy have some misunderstanding about himself? What does 1 million gold mean? With that much gold, you could fully afford a Earth-grade martial skill. If you wanted techniques, martial skills, or other things, I might still have some. But as for money, I don't have any. Liu Yinxin spoke bluntly. For experts at their level, most of their money has been converted into treasures and resources of equivalent value. How could they have cash on hand? Shun was feeling the few gold coins in his pocket. His expression was somewhat dejected. Even I had the nerve to come borrow money. But I didn't expect not to even get a loan. Was I just supposed to watch my dream of striking it rich shatter? Seeing his somewhat disappointed expression, Liu Yinxin couldn't help but speak up. If you were planning to buy a martial skill for Murong Tian, no need. I've already sent Flying Frost to deliver my Mirror Moon Palm. Shin'en was taken aback. Mirror Moon Palm? He furrowed his brow. Though this palm technique is only at the Earth-grade lower tier, its essence conflicts with the peerless sword art. The sword art emphasizes fierce, killing intent, a pure sword heart, while the Mirror Moon Palm is rather gentle and merciful. It focuses on striking like a mirror, a flower, water, or the moon, creating countless palm prints to confuse the enemy. It's lacking in killing power and emphasizes deception instead. In comparison, straightforward martial techniques like Thunderclap Sword are more suitable for Murong Tian. I thank Elder Liu for your kindness, but my disciple has a straightforward nature, and I'm afraid he's not suited to training in such a technique. Liu Yinxin's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Not training in an Earth-grade martial technique? How can Murong Tian fight against Yu Qingyun? Even if he trains in the Mirror Moon Palm, he might not be a match for the latter. But if he doesn't train, he probably won't even last until the moment he faces Yu Qingyun. I've already taught him a sword technique. That should be enough. Shun Anze rubbed his chin. What rank is that sword technique? Could it be even more powerful than my Moon Mirror Palm? Liu Yinxin's pretty face showed some displeasure. Shun Anze scratched his head and said awkwardly, I created that sword technique myself. It doesn't have a rank yet. The system didn't mention what rank One Sword Splits Heaven's Gate is. He wasn't about to make something up. And if he claimed it was even more powerful than a heaven-grade technique, would anyone believe him? They'd probably look at him like he was an idiot. Self-created? Liu Yinxin was stunned. Then she frowned slightly, her expression turning serious. Shun Anze, this is no joke. If your disciple loses, both of you will be expelled from the sect. Clearly, she didn't believe Shun An's self-created sword technique could be anything impressive. Thank you for your concern, Elder Liu. Shun clasped his hands, but offered no explanation. Are you kidding? If I spill the beans now, and word gets out, the odds will drop. And where would I cry then? Seeing his dismissive attitude, Liu Yinxin couldn't help but shake her head slightly, a hint of disappointment flashing in her eyes. She had thought Shun Anze wasn't as bad as the rumors said, but never expected him to take his own promise so lightly. Did he really think the sect leader would back him up then? Forget it. Her gaze returned to calm. I don't have 1 million gold, only 100,000. With that, Liu Yinxin waved her delicate hand, and a ring flew forward. Shun Anze was overjoyed at the sight. Thank you, Elder Liu. Is there anything else? No. Shun Anze cupped his hands in farewell and sped off like the wind toward Qingxi Peak. Watching his retreating figure, the disappointment in Liu Yinxin's beautiful eyes was evident. On the other side, at Qingyun Peak, Ling Feishuang went up the mountain all the way and quickly found Murong Tian, who was drawing water from a well to prepare dinner. When he saw her, Murong Tian was momentarily stunned. Senior Sister Ling, why are you here? My master sent me to teach you martial arts. Ling Feishuang said as she spoke, her cold phoenix eyes carefully scrutinizing the young man before her, trying to see what was so special about him, that her master would be willing to part with even an Earth-tier martial skill. But soon, her brows furrowed. She was somewhat surprised. You've broken through to the Qi realm? Had Murong Tian been only at mid-stage body tempering just 10 days ago? In such a short time, he had actually crossed an entire major realm. Murong Tian scratched his head and smiled. Just luck. Though he said this, he was also quite surprised inwardly that he had managed to draw qi into his body in just 1 hour. All of this was due to the effects of the marrow cleansing pill. as well as a cultivation technique that left him utterly astonished after practicing it. The unrivaled sword art. Normally, cultivators absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth on their own. But when he activated the unrivaled sword art, he was horrified to discover that the spiritual energy around him crazily and actively drilled into his body. They scrambled to be the first. Ling Feishuang quickly calmed down. After thinking it over, she felt there was nothing to be surprised about. After all, the Morong family was a lineage of alchemists. Over the years, who knows how many pills they had fed Morong Tian, reaching the late stage of body tempering. And successfully guiding qi into the body was nothing unusual. Here, this is a martial technique passed down to you by my master. She gently flicked her sleeve, and a jade scroll flew out. Mirror Moon Palm, only Earth grade lower rank? Morong Tian muttered subconsciously. Ling Feishuang was stunned. A gentle breeze blew through the strands of hair at her temples. It made her look quite disheveled. She seriously doubted whether she had misheard. What did he mean by only Earth grade low rank? Throughout the entire Spirit Talisman Mountain, there were barely a few Earth grade martial techniques. How could such a precious thing, in Morong Tian's mouth, become so insignificant? Senior sister, I appreciate Elder Lu's kindness, but Master has already taught me many things. I'm afraid I can't spare the time for now. Morong Tian shook his head and offered the jade slip back with both hands. What a joke. What does Master plan to teach? Was at least Earth grade mid-rank. So why practice this stuff? Was it a waste of time? Ling Feishuang was stunned. For a moment, she couldn't tell if she was sick or if Morong Tian had lost his mind. Turning down an Earth grade martial technique to learn from his body refining late-stage master. This is an Earth grade martial technique. Are you sure you don't want it? No. Morong Tian shook his head repeatedly again. He stuffed the jade slip into Ling Feishuang's hand. His expression even carried a hint of disdain. Seeing that she still stood there without leaving, he couldn't help but probe. Senior sister, would you like to stay for a meal? Ling Feishuang shook her head woodenly. She took the jade slip and turned to leave. Watching her leave, Morong Tian let out a sigh of relief. He thought to himself, close call. If Master hadn't mentioned teaching me swordsmanship this morning, I would have been forced to practice this Earth grade lower tier martial art. Down the mountain path, Shunan was in an exceptionally good mood. He hummed a tune along the way, seeing Ling Feishuang ahead, clearly lost in thought. He waved and greeted junior disciple Ling. Leaving already? Not staying for a meal. Ling Feishuang bowed and shook her head in polite refusal. Seeing his beaming face, she couldn't help but frown and ask, Elder Shun, what has made you so happy? I'm about to become a rich man. Naturally happy, Shun Anze chuckled. Ling Feishuang was a bit stunned. A puzzled look appeared on her face. Immediately, seeing her curiosity, Shun Anze had a brainwave. He immediately leaned in closer. Junior Ling, how much cash do you have on hand? Could you lend it to this elder? I guarantee you'll get 3 times your money after 20 days. 3 times? Cash. Ling Feishuang frowned. She took out a storage ring and said hesitantly, there should be about 10,000 gold. That's enough. Shun Anze took the ring and ran down the mountain without looking back, leaving behind the woman, whose hair was slightly disheveled in the wind, until the figure at the foot of the mountain disappeared in a flash. She only reacted a beat slow. Her red lips parted slightly, unsure what to say. Is my money just gone? At Qingyun Peak, listening to Ling Feishuang's report, Lu Yunqin's willow-like brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Are you sure that after he borrowed the money? You want to place a bet? This disciple personally heard fellow disciples discussing it. They said Elder Shun went to Qingxi Peak. He bet 50,000 gold on Morong Tian to win. Ling Feishuang spoke with certainty, her expression showing displeasure. Lu Yunqin sighed, shook her head without speaking, feeling utterly disappointed in Shun Anze. She hadn't expected him to act like this. It was one thing to not care at all about his disciples' competition in 20 days, but to even go participate in a gambling game? Lu Yunqin thought, and felt somewhat puzzled. Didn't I lend him 100,000 gold? He also took 10,000 gold from Feishuang. Why did he only bet 50,000 gold? Seeing her master's confusion, Ling Feishuang spoke again. Elder Shin also placed a bet on another person. Also 50,000 gold. Who? Yu Qingyun from Qingfu Peak. Liu Yanqin no longer knew what to say. Running off to join a gambling game was bad enough. He even bet on his own direct disciple-s opponent to win. Is this something a teacher should do?